Welcome back and thank you for being tuned in. You're watching Times Now and this is our budget special coverage. Let's now talk about the poll-bound states. It came as a surprise to many that the government this time did not actually announce any major schemes or projects specifically to woo the states and union territories that are headed to polls this year. In the previous year, many had accused the government of gifting a large chunk of the budget to Bihar as it was headed to the polls this year. This time, though, the narrative appears to be a little different because today the TMC is accusing the centre of completely ignoring West Bengal, going on to say that the state was ignored because the BJP knows that they are not really in a position to win in the upcoming election.
Railway budget 2009 I placed the budget. There you will see I have mentioned about Dankuni and Amritsar. That is not there, pending about these 15 years. Number 2, regarding 3 corridors they announced. We have already announced 6 economic corridors. It will include Dankuni too. Other we have announced 6 economic corridors which will cover throughout the country, throughout the state. So what they said about 3 corridors, that is absolutely a garbage of lies, blatant lies. It is already on.
In fact, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman herself asserted that announcements were made keeping the progress of all states in mind and not specifically electoral success alone.
This is the first budget prepared in Kartavya Bhavan. We are inspired by 3 Kartavya. Our first Kartavya is to accelerate and sustain economic growth by enhancing productivity and competitiveness and building resilience to volatile global dynamics. Our second Kartavya is to fulfill aspirations of our people and build their capacity, making them strong partners in India's path to prosperity. Our third Kartavya, aligned with our vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, is to ensure that every family, community, region and sector has access to resources, amenities and opportunities for meaningful participation.
So, Mr. Shashi Matthews, if we keep aside politics for a moment, is this a budget that should be celebrated merely because it's not a budget of populism? It is not about short-term games. The government has been very, very clear. This is not a short-term budget. This is a long-term budget, and it is about making every state a partner in India's progress. It's not about which state is going to the polls, which is not. Is this a budget that should be celebrated because of the fact that it is about prudence and not populism? Mr. Shashi Matthews?
Sorry. Yeah. So if you look at how the budget has unfolded and what are the announcements, clearly the announcements are to set the foundation for 2047. In fact, particularly one of the announcements on a tax holiday, and I'm a tax lawyer and I'm here in that capacity. So I will just draw your attention to some of the key tax proposals, including the one on a tax holiday for cloud services provided from India. The end date for that is 2047. A lot of the other announcements, especially in customs, is to set the foundation that we manufacture here for the world. And if we see this, this has been the trend for the last few years. And every year we see that certain inputs required for, say, solar panels, either the rates are tinkered so that we position ourselves as a manufacturing hub. Similarly, this year also there have been changes like that which have been done. So clearly where the expectation was that personal income tax would be tweaked, that has not happened. And the government has focused on other more structural reforms in that sense.
Okay, and that tax breaks is something that every single year the middle class is hoping from the government. That has not happened this time. It did happen the last year though. So what are your key takeaways if you have to look at the budget and present the key highlights that you was surprised by, or you think that the government should be lauded for? What do you think were the key highlights of the budget?
Definitely, because there is a new Income Tax Act which is coming in the next 2 months, there weren't much changes that were expected, but there have been some changes which have been announced. But largely, I would think that the expectation has been to bring in more people into the tax net, so that as a country there are more people paying tax as opposed to the really low number of tax-paying people. So that way, a lot of the offenses have been decriminalized. There is definitely some level of ease of doing business which has been given a push in this budget. So that's why I said this is not populist in that sense, but it's more structural. And definitely from a duty perspective and from an import duty perspective, there are changes which would make some sectors happy. In fact, one of the key pain points that passengers coming to India faced was I wouldn't call it harassment, but the constant questioning at the airports, which now should be streamlined because of the changes in the baggage declaration rules. And there have been some tax changes brought in from 20% to 10%. So that I think would be something, and I did not expect some of these changes to happen.
Okay.
So from that perspective, it's a good change that is there.
Okay.
And yeah, overall, I think it's more a simplified version that the government is looking to project in terms of taxation.
Okay, we are also seeing a lot of geopolitical changes. So has that also weighed on the mind of the government when this budget was made? Jobs at the heart of this entire budget, but also manufacturing, a big boost for a lot of infrastructure for the defense budget as well. I also want to introduce Dr. Ravi Singh, Chief Research Officer at the Master Capital Services, on the broadcast with us. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Ravi Singh. How do you look at this budget? Is it a budget that has been presented keeping in mind the geopolitical challenges that India is faced with, because of which we can't, or the government can't, look at the short-term gains, and it will have to look at the long-term future, and that's the reason why this budget was presented in a way that it has? Or do you think that it has left us wanting? There could have been a lot more that could have been done.
Definitely there is a geopolitical tension. Crude oil prices are the challenging these days, but I think today's budget was as per the expectation, as government had already announced several policies time to time during the year, like GST reduction, interest rate cuts, and inflation easing measurements. So I can say that the budget was balanced and gear up the GDP growth projection of 7%.
Okay, so you're happy with the budget that has been presented, because there has been some criticism that says that, ahead of the elections, we expected a lot for the states. There is also some criticism that a lot more could have been done, tax tolls or for the farmers. But the fact is that the government mentioned that it will be a budget for 2047, and there are some changes that have been made, but it's largely towards the infrastructure boost, towards ensuring that we become a hub of manufacturing, whether it is semiconductors, whether it is textiles. There is a boost that has been given to certain areas, keeping in mind that there will be a job creation and India becomes a hub of creation, that hub of manufacturing, the made in India being the heart of the budget.
Yeah, it's Amrit Kal budget, you can say that, and this is a Viksit Bharat budget, I can say that, because capex expenditure has increased to 1 lakh crore, around 12.2 lakh crore now in financial year 2027, and fiscal deficit is also lowering the target at 4.3 of GDP. So I think budget is very visionary, and I hope in future we may see in upward trend in the stock market also, and the lot of changes in the MSME sectors and agriculture growth. So I think I'm very much positive about the budget.
Okay, all right, because the markets didn't seem to be cheering the budget much. We saw that there was a downtrend in the markets as well. But I also want to talk about when we speak about what the states are going to get, because there was some criticism there as well on how the election-bound states didn't get enough. So let me shift our attention to the southern states. There are 3 states that are going to polls, and unfortunately it seemed like the states were not very happy with the way the budget was presented. So let's talk about how the opposition has criticized the government of largely ignoring the southern states, even as two of them went to polls this year. In fact, the DMK has gone on to say that this budget does not mention devolution of taxes, which has been a big talking point, as the parties in the southern states have also accused the centre of unfair treatment. The Congress party has said that the state of Kerala has not been given a fair deal ahead of the crucial state assembly polls. Let's take a look at what is being said by the southern leaders who say that the budget has been unfair.
क्या बताऊं यार, डिटेल्स तो बहुत कम मिले ना। ऑल इंडिया इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ आयुर्वेदा कहाँ आएगी? हमारे केरला में चाहिए हमें। हमारे तो बहुत लंबी ट्रेडिशन आयुर्वेदा के, लेकिन केरला का नाम नहीं सुना। फिशर कोकोनट तो शायद केरला ही हो सकते हैं, क्योंकि मेरे ख्याल में भारत का सबसे ज्यादा बड़ा केरला कोकोनट प्रोड्यूसिंग स्टेट तो केरला ही है। तो वो तो होना चाहिए। वैसे भी फिशरीज में हमें कुछ बेनिफिट होना चाहिए, लेकिन जब शिप रिपेयर के बारे में बोला और वाराणसी और पटना के बारे में बोला, केरला के बारे में कुछ नहीं सुन सका, तो ये सब हमें जरा सा आश्चर्यजनक है। लेकिन ये भी कहूं कि शायद डिटेल्स बजट डॉक्यूमेंट में होंगे, पढ़ा नहीं, अब तक सिर्फ भाषण सुने हैं। भाषण में तो बहुत कम डिटेल्स है जो हमें जरूरी थी।
Very disappointing, and most of the states had requested for a devolution of funds of 50%, and again they've said only 41%. That is very, very disappointing for all the states. And there's nothing actually concrete in this budget. And even with the elections in mind, they have not announced anything for Tamil Nadu. They're not giving us anything, but then they want to, mine rare earth from Tamil Nadu, and it's a very, very disappointing budget.
So, Shrikant Karunesh, very disappointing budget, and multiple southern states, whether it is Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, have been speaking about devolution of taxes, going on to say that southern states always get a raw deal. Do you think this criticism is valid? Mr. Shrikant, can I request you to unmute yourself? Yes. Okay, all right. I'll come to you in just a moment. Ms. Kanika Singhal, on the criticism that the government is getting time and again on the fact that there are states that feel that they have a raw deal, and southern states in particular have been speaking about tax devolution. So there is a lot of criticism that the budget has done nothing for that.
I hear that, and I mean it's to some extent again it's a perspective, but to think about, as somebody else has also said, it's a foundational budget looking at future and really growing India for 2047. So you'll see a lot of sectors like you've got the creative economy, sustainability, women, geriatrics. A lot of these sectors getting addressed in this budget. Some things which has not been addressed for the longest time, and possibly the first time there's money which is going. The government is looking at, if you want to go to Viksit Bharat, you need to bring more women into employment. Now, to bring more women into employment, you need to give them more education, and education cannot happen if you don't give them housing. So 10,000 crores being given towards housing for women, for student hostels. The whole idea of textiles industry, 10,000 crores given towards textile and getting exports to be promoted. That's again creating more value, export-oriented value. So again, it will take time for things to happen, and possibly in future the states, etc., will get impacted. But immediately, it's not just looking at what is happening currently, it is also putting the foundations for the future.
So is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down budget?
It's a thumbs up budget, and it's a budget which is actually looking at multiple other sectors, manufacturing, looking at AI, looking at rare earth, looking at sustainability, geriatrics, mental health, issues which have always been sidelined and never spoken about. Those are issues which are being surfaced, even if small amount of money which has gone about. So it's a thumbs up budget, to really a very inclusive budget.
Okay, inclusive and futuristic budget. That's how you describe it. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. With that, it's time for us to slip into a short break. We'll be right back.